Alright everybody, I'm going to start off with a little hope core for all my friends watching. Some of the most successful people in this world are some of the most self-conscious. And that's not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing, and I'm going to convince you. And you may not believe me, but I'm going to convince you. Self-consciousness can actually be a skill that serves you rather than a burden that you carry around. Your life depends on it. You may be watching this video because you're hard on yourself, or because you criticize your behaviors, or your looks, or you compare yourself to others. And I empathize with you if you're in that position, because I've been in your shoes countless times. And it took me years to realize that the burden that I was carrying wasn't that I was self-conscious, but it was that I was being both mean to myself and being manipulated by my past. And I want you to be free from the burden of self-criticism, because you deserve to blossom into your destiny. Embracing that life of freedom, it's not gonna be easy, but you just have to keep trying. I'm gonna let this sink in before I get on with the show. We're gonna start with a glowy base. Where's my glowy base? The little Say Super Gel, just on the high points. I'm gonna underpaint today because I feel like underpainting, and I feel as though sometimes I'm self-conscious when I put contour on, and today we're gonna conquer that in live time. But dolls, I wanna take you on a journey because I think that I can convince you that being self-conscious is something that's gonna help you in your life. Honestly, I think I can convince you. So stick in it with me. So I'm gonna start off where most of us get mixed up, and that is that being self-conscious is usually defined as a malevolent awareness of one's flaws, right? When you say I'm so self-conscious, people think, oh, you're so burdened by that. That's like the reaction. It's like, oh, you must be so burdened by that. And I think that this definition is psychological propaganda. Now let me explain. When we use the term and we break it apart, when we break the term apart, self-conscious just means conscious of the self. As simple as that, right? Aware of the self. Conscious, aware, synonyms. So it means you're aware of the self. It should be a synonym for self-aware if we're talking technically. They should be synonyms. And that's how the word used to be used centuries ago. I looked it up, and Google AI told me, and I'm posting this on Google platform. So Google AI told me, hello, and it's right. But that's how it used to be used, was just an awareness of one's character, as you would think. Synonym to self-awareness, I'm saying. And you're like, Sage, what the fuck are you saying? But there is a power in language, and there's a power in the meaning that we assign to language. Maybe, honestly, maybe understanding that meaning of the word self-conscious as a neutral, non-negative meaning can be a tool that we can use to transform this part of us into a strength. That's the first tool I'm referencing here. My dolls. Now, I think the contour actually looks good, so good for me. Now I'm also gonna be underpainting with blush, because why not, am I right? This is the Danessa Myricks blush, which we love. Now, if you are one of those girls, oh my god, my eye, who feel very insecure, and I've been there with you, you probably spend a lot of time worrying about certain parts of yourself. Maybe your nose, I used to really worry about. Maybe it's your hair, or your butt, or your job, or your bank account. There are so many things that you can be self-conscious about, right? So, all of the things that we could think about. And that worrying may even start to consume your thoughts and give you anxiety and depression and low self-esteem. These are all things that, thankfully, in this decade have been put into the social consciousness, and we're all aware that these things come from having issues with being self-conscious or insecure. You might, like me, scan your face for flaws, find character flaws to fixate on, or examine all of the ways that you're not as good as other people. Now, these behaviors are deeply hurtful. Oh my god, they hurt. And they're self-sabotaging. They hold us back from opportunities. They hold us back from blessings, hold us back from love, self-expression, hold us back from internal peace, everything. She's blushed right now. I'm gonna put on a little bit more highlighter, and then I'm gonna go in with my foundation. But when I was telling myself these really hurtful, negative things personally, it felt like I was ripping a knife. Oh my god, no. I just got blush on the wand. I got it off. It felt like I was ripping a knife into my heart on a daily basis, telling myself all these negative things. It really did. Like, I'm gonna tell you that. It felt awful. It felt unbearable. At so many times, I couldn't bear it. It made things like rejection and loneliness feel like the literal end of the world daily, right? And my Snapchat memories will tell you that, right? And it felt unbearable because all of those things, the loneliness, the whatever, felt like it was obviously my fault because I had such negative self-conscious behaviors. Because all of those things, and all of it stemmed from being self-conscious, or self-critical, as I would now call it. And when I was in these negative thought loops, I would convince myself that being self-critical was something that I needed to do to achieve my goals. Hello? I would convince my therapist that this is something that I would need to do to achieve my goals. Literally. She was convinced. And I was convinced that it was driving my success, and I was on paper successful, right? I was at a prestigious college, I guess. Getting good grades, I guess. Having fun, yes. Gorgeous, yes. Dressing well, yes. All of the things. Everything. So much of how I talk is influenced by Tanika B. I love Tanika B. I was accomplishing things in that period of time when I was really becoming aware of these thoughts and when they were really at their peak. I was accomplishing the things that I wanted to accomplish. I was living the life. So, who was to tell me that it wasn't necessary? But I was wrong. And deep down, I knew I was wrong. Because in no way could that amount of self-criticism, being mean to myself every single day, looking in the mirror and telling myself I was a monster. I used to look in the mirror and tell myself I was a monster and believe it. But deep down, I knew that was wrong, and I knew that there was no way that was necessary for me to be attractive, right? Even though that's what I was telling myself. But that's what I told myself, was that it was necessary for me to criticize myself to this deep degree so that I could be motivated to be hotter or smarter or more intelligent. And I was wrong, but I also was right, actually. And I'm gonna get to that. But I was wrong that it was Mr. Saxo Beat, Mr. Saxo Beat. I forgot how good this elf Charlotte Tilbury thing was. She's good. And now y'all see what I was doing with the underpainting. It didn't make sense at first when you saw it, but now it makes sense. It didn't even make sense to me, but now it does. Anyways, I was wrong that it's necessary to be obsessively self-critical to achieve my goals. That is something that I recognize now, even though I couldn't recognize it back then. But self-criticism is just one form of self-consciousness. And I was right about something, which is that self-awareness, which I now call self-consciousness, is necessary for me to achieve my goals. I was right. Thank God I was right. I'm always right. In some way. It is necessary for me to be aware enough, to be self-conscious enough, to understand even what my goals are, to work toward achieving them. And we're gonna get to the other ways that it's necessary, but the opposite of being self-conscious is, in my opinion, not something like optimism or self-love or anything like that. No. The opposite of self-consciousness is being dissociated in the world, right? Is literally not knowing what's going on in the world and being ignorant. That's the opposite of self-conscious, is ignorance. Being dissociated or living life on autopilot or being ignorant will only end up with us living life like our parents. And I don't want that. No thanks. No thank you. No thank you very much. Do y'all remember this classic, Bahama Mama? I've been using this since high school. Not this one specifically. Actually, I think I have been using this one since high school because I didn't think that it was the one I had. But look at that little, you see that little dent in it? Now I'm vividly remembering when I was in high school and I scraped this out of the pan and mixed it with face oiler because I wanted to make a liquid bronzer. And back in 2016, when I was in high school, they didn't make liquid bronzers that I knew of. So I tried to make my own. And this is that one that I used. Oh my God, that's crazy. Anyways, we're gonna do some bronzer. So I've learned to embrace what many people would call self-awareness, but I actually think it's the same thing as self-consciousness. And self-consciousness is a word that I would like to reclaim. I'm reclaiming it because it's actually a neutral word that they co-opted into making us think was bad. And I think that people that are self-conscious are vulnerable because we're self-conscious and we should protect ourselves. And using the word self-conscious in this neutral way feels empowering to me because it feels good to say, I am so self-conscious. I'm looking in the camera when I'm saying this. I am very self-conscious and I don't feel bad about it. I don't feel a dragging weight in my chest like I might have used to feel when I said that, because I don't see it as a bad thing anymore. Because I reclaimed it. And I know y'all want to know the secret sauce. The trick that's going to turn you into the sexy, self-conscious goddess that I am. I know y'all want to know. And that's what y'all click the video for. So I'm going to give it to you now. And let me tell you, it is a secret sauce. It's there. Because being self-conscious now, it literally almost never negatively affects me. And it's actually a tool that really drives me towards excellence. I like to believe, I like to think, and I like to know. That secret sauce is kindness. It's that simple, is it? Yes, it's literally that simple. It's kindness to yourself. Because self-criticism and self-awareness are, in my opinion, differentiated by both the intent as well as the thought that comes after the introspection. Because self-criticism, when you look in the mirror and call yourself a monster, I'm talking to you, Sage, when you used to do that, that is introspection. It is, but it's introspection with the intent on finding flaws, with the intent of saying something negative. Self-criticism is when we look for flaws, maybe even with a microscope, and then judge ourselves negatively by default. When we literally seek something out to be mean to ourselves about. That's what self-criticism is. The judgment, especially, that comes after is part of self-criticism. It's literally like judging yourself for what you find within or externally. I want to put some more concealer on my... The dolls always put concealer right here. I don't know why. They say it's a facelift, but I don't need a facelift. So self-criticism is that judgment baked into it. And then self-awareness is looking just to look. Saying, hey, how's it going? That type of thing. Just to say hey. And to assess. To observe. It's observational. And it ends there. It's looking just to understand. The thought afterward can be negative. Or it could be not. It's actually dependent on what you're looking at versus it defaulting to judgment. Maybe I can be self-aware and look at the amount of time that I'm spending on my phone. Can you see any of my freckles still? Like a couple of them, maybe? I wish you could see more of them. I paid a lot of money for these freckles. But she's an artist. Or maybe I can be self-aware and look at how thick my gluteus maximuses are getting. Because I've been doing a lot of Legree. But the key is the neutral intent that I'm looking at myself with when I'm being self-aware is the lens that allows me to actually see what I'm looking at for what they are. Because even a couple years ago, I used to look at my butt. This is just a personal thing. Because I've been wanting a big butt for a long time. And I've been working on it. I've been going to the gym. I've been eating. Right? And I used to look at my butt. And literally no matter what it looked like, I would be like, oh, it's not big. Oh, it's so small. Blah. Because I was looking for something to criticize. And you literally can't see what is actually there if you go in expecting to find something that you don't like. When I was obsessed with self-criticism, even before I was actively trying to get stronger in the gym, when I was obsessed with self-criticism, I would just look for things to hate about my body. I would just look for things to hate about it because it felt normal to do that, which is crazy that felt normal. This underpainting thing is it. I don't normally do this much makeup on my face. Especially this much concealer. That's a lot of concealer. But why when I don't have anything to conceal? No, I'm kidding. It's just because it looks good. I would just look for negative things to say even if they weren't true. Regardless of if they were true. So even if I was even when I was going to the gym and my butt was growing or whatever, my whatever was whatevering, I wouldn't see it because I wasn't looking for it. I was looking for the negative because my lens was one of criticism. And on the other hand, I also didn't ever see my negative traits for what they really were, right? And that's the real tea. Because when I was obsessed with self-criticism, I was too hurt by my own internal monologue and by my own internal lens towards everything about myself. Yes, Miss Pat McGrath, thank you very much. The doll. That I couldn't look at the things that were actually needing improvement in the way that I was moving about the world because I knew that if I did, I would find things that I actually needed to work on and then I would be mean about it, right? I would be critical and mean and unkind to myself about it. I love putting a little highlighter up there. I also need to powder the top of my face. The Juvia's Place. I feel like this powder is, I feel like Juvia's Place in general is for more like full glam divas, which is why maybe they have some stuff that's a little bit less coverage, but I can make it work for me. So I was too hurt by my own thoughts to even sit and acknowledge the things that I needed to actually work on, so I was stuck. But now, what did I do? Honestly, y'all, it took a lot. It took a lot to be kinder to myself, to start being kinder to myself. Krylan palette, highlighters, gorgeous. Oh, I don't know if I want to do that one. I don't know if I wanted to do that. It's not like the vibe. I don't know why I went for the purest white one. Well, it's literally clearly not the vibe right now. It's literally not at all. Anyways, but I'm kind to myself. It's fine. I made a mistake and I can deal with it and grow. It took a lot to be kinder to myself. It did. But listen, if you're a real self-conscious girl, if you're a real down bitch, and you're really self-conscious like that, you can do it for sure. Because the growth, this is the kicker of the video, you guys. The growth comes from being self-conscious of what you say to yourself. If you say something nasty to yourself, you have to acknowledge how nasty it was without being mean about it. Don't let it slide. View yourself saying something nasty to yourself as what it is. A habit of being mean without judging that habit. It's not anything to judge. There's nothing wrong with it. That's the one thing you aren't legally allowed to be mean to yourself about, is that you're mean to yourself. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't mean you'll never be different, or any of the other thoughts that may come after that realization that you have that habit. There's nothing wrong with that part of you. It just means you're human, and that's where you are right now. And once you can see that without judgment, you're off to a wonderful start. Diva Queen, you're self-conscious of that habit now instead of self-critical of it. You did it. First time. You need a little pin. Y'all, this Becca blush is ancient. It's literally ancient. It's broken, but it's still somehow being held together. It's ancient. It's in the color Songbird. It has glue all over it, and it's barely even dented, but she is a real one. I'm gonna use this brush. She's a little nice nude peachy. So you can do that thing you just did with your habit of being mean to yourself. You can do it with everything in your life, and you slowly will. Slowly you will. Maybe you're very proud of your appearance. Characteristic, neutral about it. Maybe you have a habit of placing external validation from men on a pedestal. Characteristic, neutral. Now, once you're good at not judging the things you see in yourself and in other people as well, you'll see a lot more of who you actually are. You'll see a lot of the things that are important for you, specifically you, without judging them, or without looking to see if other people are gonna judge them, right? Because it starts within you. If you're not judging it, other people can't judge it. Or if they do judge it, then it won't matter to you at all because you're not judging it. And you're not gonna let them project their judgment of you onto you. That's their problem. But being able to see the things that are important to you without judging them is an essential skill to succeed in this life. You'll be more aware of the way you show up in relationships, of the way you show up in social settings, of the way you show up at work, everything. But you can't truly reach that level of awareness if you live in a constant place of judgment, if you're always judging yourself or other people. But you also can't reach that level of awareness if you're numbing yourself to look within. I'm gonna try making my brows auburn. I do this sometimes because I'm freaky. Analysis, in my opinion, is never a bad thing. And I know what you're saying. You're like, but I overthink. You can't overthink anything if you're thinking clearly. That is the tea. You cannot overthink anything if you're thinking clearly. What you can do is be really good at judging situations without realizing it. And then that judgment shows up in a negative pattern of thought. And you're in a negative thought loop all of a sudden that's fueled by the emotions that you're feeling, by the judgments that you're making. That can happen. Absolutely, that can happen. That's happened to me many a time. The little highlights in my brow. Cute, right? Matches my beard. Think about the last time you were overthinking. Were you thinking clearly about the situation you were experiencing? Was there clarity in your mind? Or were you feeling an emotion that you were then projecting onto the situation, that you may not have processed that emotion until after the situation was over, but you think that you were overthinking because in reality your thoughts were fueled by those emotions instead of a clear mind. That's not thinking, that's feeling. Oh my God. I'm so itchy. Y'all, why am I so itchy? I'm not allergic to anything in this makeup. I've used this makeup before. I say as I just have put makeup on my face from 10 years ago. But a point that I want to make is when you think without judgment about a situation, your brain knows when to stop. Now what's scary about that is that once your brain stops thinking about something and you're thinking clearly about it, the next step is to take action. Oh my God. Jump scare. But you can never get to that step of taking action, which, spoiler alert, you probably are going to need to do if you want to see any change in your life. You'll never get there to even have the opportunity to take action if you're judging yourself. Who can tell that I got this lip pencil for under 30 cents? It works on my hand, I think because I have lip balm on. You can never get to the step of even being close to taking action if you're judging yourself. And if you do take action before you stop judging yourself, you might make some oopsies. And then you take some actions and it's not in your best interest because you're living life in this judgment cloud where you can't really know what's going on and you're just living a really miserable life. I'm not there anymore, but I have lived in the past. And when you make an oopsie, then you'll probably judge yourself even more for that. Now I have known in my life, actually recently, I've known some people who have the opposite problem to being too self-conscious or being too self-critical. They absolutely, and I say this without judgment, are completely unaware of their flaws. Have never looked internally, think that everything around them is other people's fault, right? And this is anybody can be like this. I thought it was just men, honestly I did, but I was proven wrong. But a lot of men are like that, right? Where they think that everyone else is at fault and they refuse to even think that they could do anything wrong. I've seen how those people navigate the world. I've seen them. And I'm so thankful that I'm not them. And I say that without judgment. But trust me, you do not want to be that person. Just like that person wouldn't want to be you. As we're all on our own journey here on this earth, on this planet. But you have to be able to think clearly about everything in your life, about anything, before you can make the right decision about it. And judgment, it will always cloud your vision, which is why I'm proud to be self-conscious. I'm self-conscious to this day, and I'm proud. Because I'm now in a palace where I can see clearly. I'm now in a place where I can think clearly about myself without judging myself. I can see myself clearly. I can see which things are actually flaws, which are always things that I just need to give a little bit more attention and intention. And I can give these flaws the honest love of my heart. And I know none of y'all have ever dated me. Quite literally none of y'all, no matter who watches this. But that honest love from my heart, hello, is priceless. Having that perspective where I can actually see myself allows me to really focus on the things that I can change to improve my life. It also really allows me to be grateful for the things I already have that are really good. I love so many things about myself. And I'm also so excited to work on so many things. And I also have worked on so many things because I've been open to seeing them for what they are. And it has not been a short journey to get to this point, but I wouldn't have had it any other way. Now, I really hope you can start your journey. My Diva Cup Queen, I haven't even said that yet. Hello, my Diva Cup Queens. I really hope you can start your journey. Just try to be kind to yourself. And things will work out, I promise. No parts of yourself are too dark to be kind to yourself about. That's the tea. I love you. Bye-bye.